So what did it take me to move from earning $100 to $1,000 on KDP? This video is not just going to be the normal video we're saying where you need to work on your cover, your keywords, your niche, those sorts of things, your description. This video is going to be 5 tips that I can provide you that have actually helped me to build my revenue up and move from that point in time where I was stuck on about $100 to earning over $1,000 per month, then transitioning to then earning $5,000 per month plus. And it has taken time. And I've mentioned in other videos before that it does take time to progress, and you can't expect to get immediate results because some books do take time to gain traction, for the keywords to rank on Amazon, and for you to get comfortable with how to write your books, design your books, and then also how to launch your books properly. So if you haven't been to this channel before, welcome. My name's Romney, and this channel is all about creating, building, and scaling your self-publishing business. And I wanted to identify these 5 key tips that are going to help you in the long run for your publishing, but also even if you're starting out, what can you do to move from earning $100 to $1,000? So I'll outline those things now. So let's start to go through these 5 tips. Now I've got my notepad here and I've written them down. I'm just going to be referring to them as we go through because I gave it a bit of thought. I want to think, what do people need to know as they get into their KDP publishing? Maybe you're in a place where you're finding some challenges and you're not getting the growth or the sales that you're looking for. And as I mentioned in the introduction, I'm going to put aside those other key aspects which are obviously critical. We all know it, about getting into niches which are uncompetitive, that we've got the right keywords, that we have great covers, we have a good description, book description that attracts the right customer and to purchase our book. They're the things that we know about, and they're in every video about what you can do to get more book sales, and I've spoken about them a lot because I know they are critical. But I wanted to go a little bit deeper. I wanted to scratch the surface and find out, well, beyond that, what did I do to move from earning $100 to up to $1,000? And the first $100 didn't come until after month 3. Then I started to build that momentum, and I'll provide a link to the video talking about my first 12 months if you haven't seen that before. And I just identify a few challenges that I had on that journey. So if you haven't seen it, go and watch that, and that will actually help you a lot as well. So let's go to number 1. So number 1, I actually created a publishing plan or a schedule. And what I mean by that is I actually allocated time to focus on publishing and to focus on KDP. So when I first started my journey, I had a full-time job and I wasn't able to jump into publishing from the very beginning. I actually gradually moved into publishing as my income rose, but that didn't happen for a long time. And you need to expect that that's what the commitment is that you need to put in. So what I ended up doing is I worked on the time that I was getting up in the morning, and I ended up getting up at around about 5:30, and I actually brought that back a fair bit. But initially I was getting up at 5:30, doing quick exercise, having some brekkie, and then I would start my publishing from 6 a.m. I'd work for about an hour 15 till about 7:15 a.m. Then I would get ready for work, go to work for the day, come back, have some family time. Then at about 7:30, I'd start again and do another hour and a half. Therefore, I was getting up when no one else was up, and I was able to get some good solid work done. Then when I got home, I made sure that I balanced that family life, and then I did some more publishing after that. And that really helped. In fact, there's a book directly above my head called The Habit Switch that I wrote based on what I did to allow my habits to change, to get more time, and then to develop a schedule that allowed me to focus and get clarity on my publishing. And if you feel like you don't have that, then it's something you really need to focus on. So number 1 was developing a schedule where I knew the allocated times during the week I'd focus on KDP publishing alone, and it was times that I knew I could focus on it, and I did that 6 days a week. Sunday was my day off. So that would be tip number 1. Get that publishing plan or the schedule organized and really focus on it and make it a commitment and work out why you really want to do KDP publishing. There must be a strong reason why you're wanting to do it, so make sure you focus on that. Number 2 is I backed myself in getting the right resources and the right software to help with my research, help with niche ideas, keywords, looking at cover design, all those elements which we know are very important. But to begin with, I was looking at the free tools, which were really good to start with. But then I thought, well, if I want to really make something of this, if I'm considering this a bit of a business that I want to start, well, I need to invest in the business and I need to back myself. Now, the first software I purchased was Publisher Rocket and KD Spy, just because they were one-off payments, and that was good for me because I therefore knew my budget. I wasn't buying a subscription sort of model at that point in time. Then as time went on, I then got BookBolt, and then after that I got Canva. I started with Canva, and then I purchased Canva Pro. As I started to get more aware of how much I enjoyed the publishing side of things, then I wanted to make sure that I could put some money aside, and I was doing that for my full-time job, put some money aside, and then I would invest in some further tools. And from then I've actually grown the tools that I do use and the resources, and I've recently done a video about the 14 free tools that you can download and use, online tools for KDP publishing. But in that download brochure, there's also paid tools that I use and that I personally use myself. So that's what I did. I backed myself. I got the right tools, which then helped me to grow my publishing. I wasn't trying to just use free tools because there's a limitation on what I could do to actually grow. But I did that initially just until I got better at publishing. Then I really scaled up. Number 3 is I focused on trying to master KDP rather than having information overload. So initially I was watching plenty of YouTube videos about publishing, and it was almost information overload. I was just struggling to then implement what was going on. So there were a lot of videos about different niches I could start. People were saying publish a book every day, for example, and it was just getting overwhelming. So I decided to take a pause on watching some videos for about a week. Then I just started to address and started to action a few of the key items that I was learning. So I might watch a couple of videos, I'd pause, I'd implement that, learn it, then I'd get back into the videos again. Now, I don't want you to stop watching my channel, but what I'm saying is you just got to be careful that you don't consume too much information regularly, because you end up getting overload and you get procrastination starts to set in because you get overloaded with taking that initial action. So make sure that what you watch or what you plan to implement, you pause and you actually do it and take that action. And I'm a very action orientated person, so that was something that I wanted to make sure that I started to do more regularly and had frequency, and I had clarity about what I wanted to do. The next one was I actually transitioned from high volume to low volume of books. And what I mean by that is when I first started, like most people in KDP, started by just creating books as one a day, one every couple of days. And I just kept on doing that and kept on doing it. And it was something that I needed to stop and reflect and pause on and decide what I really wanted to do with my publishing. I didn't want to just be a publisher that published 5 or 6 books a week. That just wasn't me. I was compromising the quality of my books. What I did find during that phase, though, because of the volume of what I was creating, I actually learned a fair bit about cover design and things like that as well. So that's something that I just sort of needed to keep on working on too. So what is the 5th tip that I can give you regarding my transition from making $100 to $1,000 on KDP. Well, the fifth one is that I actually paused for a moment. I needed to find out what were my top books that were selling the most, why were they selling, what perhaps had I done differently from other books that were making these books sell. So what I did, I picked out 3 books, and those 3 books I carefully had a look at from the day I launched, what I did a little bit differently, maybe from the other books. And it actually came down to the way I launched these books. I did a couple of things a bit differently. And it's something that's really important that you develop a launch plan that evolves around what you need to do for once you load your book up, what your action plan is once you load it, how are people going to find your book, what marketing can you potentially implement into your marketing plan or your launch plan that will get that visibility for people to see your books. So that's what I'd advise you to do. Depending on how many books you actually have out right now and have published, you can see pretty quickly which ones are rubbish. What ones have you published? You haven't given it much thought. You published them very quickly and got them uploaded to KDP. And what ones have you spent a bit more time on? What are the keywords maybe that are in that book? Or is there a particular niche that a book is doing well at that you can double down on, that you can really stop and maybe focus on that one niche for the next couple of months? Are there other books you can create in that niche where you become a bit of an expert in that niche as well? And that's what I did. And I found a niche that allowed me to develop 5 or 6 books, and I slowed down. I knew who my target audience was, and I knew who the customer was. Therefore, I was able to generate more sales because I knew who my avatar was, who are the people that are buying my books, and why they were buying them. What could I do to create some new books in that particular niche? So that would be the fifth tip, is to make sure that you stop, check out your catalogue of books or your library of books, find out what's working, what books are getting sales, and really focus on those books. Don't just continue to publish more and more books without stopping and reflecting and working out maybe what's going right. You might have a catalogue of books where nothing's going quite right, and that's another reason to stop and pause and say, well, what I'm currently doing isn't working. So what do I need to change up that might change the trajectory of my book sales? So they're the things that I think are really important. Those top 5 tips that I'm giving you that are outside the normal parameters of what you'd hear regarding book covers and keywords and niches and things like that. Yes, I did talk about making sure you identify the right niches and hone in on that, but it was more about pausing and stopping and finding out what books were doing well and why they were doing particularly well. So I do hope that you've liked this video, these tips about KDP, and the 5 tips that I feel are important for you to bring into your mindset about Amazon advertising and structuring your publishing as well. And remember that if you do like these kinds of things, to please give me a thumbs up, to give me a subscribe or hit the subscribe button, and make sure that you hit that notification bell as well, so you're made aware of more videos that I create. And also, if you do like these kinds of lessons and videos, well, this is just the tip of the iceberg compared to what you'd actually find in my Publishing Accelerator course as well. So that might be something you're interested in. Just check out the links below. So thanks again for watching, and I look forward to sharing more information and content in my next video.